time. So today's trying to get back into kind of a painting groove, I guess. So these blocks of practice, because they didn't work out. They're not my regular wood that I put on. The sides are all wonky. I like the colour though, but yeah, they end up in the fire. Definitely need another surface other than white. I don't like it. It doesn't show the colours very well, I feel, and I'm a very like earthy wood kind of person anyway. So I'm just going to do a basic sunset because it's been a while since I've painted on the blocks, maybe a couple of weeks at least. The last one was for the show in October. Was it October? What month were we in? It was in April. Wow, I'm a bit out of it. In April in Melbourne, and so that went really well, but now I don't have any blocks to release for October, so now this is practice until I release some more at that time. So like I said earlier, these ones I won't use these ones because like it is a hardwood, but I don't like it, and it's not my regular. I usually use oak. So I'm doing a lot of experiments with different brands of watercolour now. I've always been Winsor and Newton 100%. But I have made some discoveries with, I think it's an American brand, Daniel Smith, pretty sure. I like some of their colours. I think some of their colours work really, really well. So I'm happy to try them. So the sunsets are fairly easy to do if you kind of have the colours that you want. I tend to go for this same mix of colour every time. It's a warm yellow with an orange fading into a pink and then a purple, mainly because I know that the purple works well with the yellow, which makes sense because they're opposite on the colour wheel. But I just like that gradient. I think it works quite nicely together. this colour combination doesn't work with the gold as much. So I tend not to use it a lot with the gold. I tend to use the silver instead. So all of my materials I've linked down below, because a lot of people ask, you know, what do I use and what gold do I use, what silver, etc. So they're all linked there. You can have a look. But a lot of this is a lot of my process. And a lot of the process is literally trial and error and finding what you like and what you don't like. That's an important part of the process, is kind of making many bad paintings until you make one that you like, and then I guess honing in or repeating that process. And then that way you kind of come up with a little bit of a style that you like. So if you've ever got any questions about the process or anything like that, feel free just to leave a comment. I can't say I always get to the comments because I'm often painting and I forget. Forget to check. So this is a lot brighter than I probably normally would have anyway. But I think it's quite seasonal too. It just depends on the season. Sometimes I go very muted colours. At the moment where I am, I'm in the tropics, and so the colours are very intense and very bright, but where I spend a lot of my time in Tasmania in Australia, at the moment it's winter there, and so the colours are very muted and they're very blue, and they're very blue, grey. It's like winter, rain, cold, frost, sun. But at the moment, this is what takes up a lot of my days, is being in the sun. And so that's reflected. I think it often gets reflected in what you do, which is good. Now, even though it is watercolour, I am probably not using a lot of water as you would if it was like a wet on wet technique. It's where the paper is quite saturated. And it's because these have already been mounted on the blocks. I can have a very, very like wet mix, but what would happen is I'd have some troubles like rendering some effects because the paper will absorb that moisture, but it will also lift from the bottom. So I'm quite careful with that, which is good. Something I've learned. Actually, I do have something that I want to show you because I did it the other day and I was really happy about it. In the sketchbook. Yeah, here we go. These are the girls. I'll get back to that. I'll just let that dry. So I completed her last night. I didn't film it. I haven't been filming a lot of my work because I kind of got a little bit stuck, and so I was a little bit like, I just want to paint without the pressure of filming. But this girl here is what I use as a template for my watercolor course. And in the course, I'm very specific about, like, you get to print out basically an outline of this girl's face. And what we do in the course, I've got some examples here, is we go through different ways that you paint exactly the same face and how you can get different results. You know, what ends up with something kind of flat, what something has personality, and like how different shading effects can give really different ideas. But this was the original girl that I drew. And so I didn't colour her in for quite a while because I was so, not nervous, oh yes, it must have been nervous that I'd wreck her. But I did this without filming, so I kind of had no expectations of, you know, it has to be good or anything like that. And because I think I was relaxed and I wasn't worried about it, oh, she turned out just beautiful. I really like her face, I like her eyes, the colour, the earrings, obviously I'm a massive earring fan, but just the negative space. I hadn't planned it. I had planned to fill in her outfit similar to these, and you can see I actually use very similar colours, so this one here to that one there. I really like that gradient. I think that's beautiful. So I was quite excited because this was something that has been on the back burner for quite a while, so I was really happy to have her turn out. And then she's the sister one of this, and in the course we go through these. You get to print these out as well, and these are the results of like a different kind of method of paint. This one was very like free and not worried about it, but then I painted her after I did her, and I like how she turned out too. She's very different in the way her face is rendered and how it's done. But again, I like the negative space, and I like how I was able to render like her hair and her turban kind of area. That was really good. But I just thought how significantly different these three. This is all the same face, guys. Like, that's what I find really interesting. This like was the template outline. That was the original sketch, and this is like a photocopy of it. Obviously it's a teensy bit smaller because this fits on an A6 size, and this was in my sketchbook. But I thought it was so interesting how you can change what the face looks like based on how you paint it. So I thought that was kind of fun as well. That was good. And that's the same with this girl here too. Like, she's all the same face. She just looks different depending on how you paint her. I think it's so interesting. Like, yeah, obviously the negative space with the hair is something that I had been playing with for quite a while anyway, so that was my exciting news. I was able to paint something, which was fun. That's good. So this one should be about dry now, which is good. So you can always tell when something's dry when you put your hand on it and it's not cool to the touch. It's a teensy bit cool, but this is something that we can work with. I will get my small brush. Now this is tiny. I think it's a 0 or a 00. It's a very small brush. It's a 00. Okay, so it's very, very small. I'm not sure if you're able to see that. There we go. It's in focus now. And honestly, if you only have 2 brushes, these are the only 2 you ever need to paint. Small, very fine detail brush. And this one is my dagger brush. It's linked in the description below. I use this 90% of the time. If I'm feeling adventurous, then I'll use the flat. But if you only ever, if you're just starting out and you only ever need 2 brushes to start with, I've got hundreds, and these are the 2 that I always reach for. So that's interesting as well. You don't need a huge supply list. So what I've been doing lately is I've been putting a lot of foliage in the foreground. So I'm going to continue with that. But I am going to mix up a little bit of purple and what's this called? It's red. No, it's not. Permanent Rose, which is PV19. And I'm going to make it a little bit watered down. I'm going to put the mountain red in the back. I'm going to make it come quite high. But I'm going to use a lot of water to kind of spread that out, because I want that gradient that I painted in underneath to show through. And what that does is it kind of gives you 2, what's the word? Kills 2 birds with 1 stone. I think that's what I'm trying to say. The reason for that is because some of the colour that you've already painted on that's a little bit dry shows through. And because we've started out like with these sunsetty colours, it's probably a little bit difficult to see here. But you can see how some of the colour from underneath is shining through. And the effect that when it comes to landscapes is it makes it feel as though the sunlight is on the hills without you having to do anything. So that's just a little trick, and we'll probably see it a little bit better in this section here. So I'm just getting a little bit of water on my brush, and I'm kind of bringing it down, feathering it out a little bit. And because that layer underneath is quite dry, I'm not lifting up much paint from underneath, but that paint is shining through. And what that does just gives us the impression that the sunlight is bouncing off those hills, but we've just borrowed the light that we've already painted from underneath. So that's just with 2 layers. So the first layer was that gradient that I made, and the second layer was these 2 mountain ranges. And you can see here what I've done is like I already put like a natural horizon line there, but I repeated some of the yellow from the sky, because you'll notice whenever you go hiking or walking in the bush that whenever there's water, it often reflects the sky colour. And that's something that's easy to miss when you're first starting to paint. It's easy to miss that, what's the word? It's not a quirk of nature because it happens all the time. It's easy to miss that piece of information, I guess, when you're not used to looking at it. So next time that you go walking in the bush or hiking or something like that, just have a look at what the water does and what it's reflecting. And that will help you with your painting a little later on. So I've just mixed up the permanent rose and some of the Windsor violet because it's a very purple leaning painting, this one. And I'm going to put another mountain range in, and I'm going to bring it down here, and I'm going to make it significantly darker than the ones before. So I'm not super worried about whether it's going to reflect anything from the layer underneath. And the trick with these landscapes is that you really need to not be afraid to go heavy-handed. So before I kind of got my teeth into watercolors, I painted with acrylics, and I think that's why I'm a little bit more heavy-handed with watercolors than, say, normal. But at the same time, that's one of the reasons I love watercolors as well, is because you're able to do both. If you want something subtle and kind of whimsical, you can. But if you want something that is quite heavy and saturated, by all means, like, you can do that with watercolor too, that's no problem. Actually, where's my other book? This is what I was in this book. This is the book of experimentation. No, it's not in this one. But you can see, like, these colors, I mean, yes, they're watercolors because they're blending like watercolors do. I mean, you can do that with acrylic and oils as well, for sure. But, like, don't be afraid. Like, this color here, like, it's hard to see in this light, but look at the intensity of that blue. It's just amazing. And it's because I was quite heavy-handed, like, I got a lot of pigment in my brush, and that's just a regular normal pigment, PB29, which is, I mean, in any brand, it's like French ultramarine. I think that one was the French ultramarine. So let me check this. It was probably, yes, I think it was actually. No, it might have been the Daniel Smith, which is the ultramarine blue. Okay. And that one, yeah, it's a PB29 pigment, I think. Yep, PB29. So, I mean, it's a small tube, but the color impact that you can get of something, it just all depends on your pigment load. So that's why you can get very intense colors with watercolor, because, I mean, it's in the name, it's watercolor. So water is going to determine how colorful your painting is. If you've got a lot of water, it's going to wash it out. Water does that. If you're going to have really intense color, don't put as much water in, and that's good. So I'm going for a Prussian blue now, which is PB27, so it's a different color pigment. So I'm going for this blue, and I'm going to, this is going to be my darkest little mountain, and it's going to be at the start, or not the start, in the foreground of our painting. Now, it looks like I use Prussian blue all the time, because you can see that's it there. Bit hard to see. It looks like it's all kind of run out, but for some reason when I squeeze this into here, it just all disappeared once it started to dry out. So I don't know whether it was just a tube of paint or, so I'm putting that as the darkest value, and I'm also going to put that Prussian blue in the foreground in the beginning as my darkest value. And this is kind of like my standard, what's the word? My standard landscape. And like I said, I've been doing a lot of like foliage from the top, and I've been really liking that. So I'm going to do that now because it's kind of freeing. Yeah, it's a little bit different. And so this is just with the Prussian blue now. So I haven't done this for a few days, so my hand is actually a little bit shaky, and that's one of the things that I think practice is important. Your hand can get shaky, And I think it's a combination of lack of confidence and muscle memory. It's so much muscle memory. Sometimes a little bit hard to explain just how much muscle memory can be part of painting. And that's why it's good to practice often, but also good to change things up as well if you have the bandwidth to do that. Because changing it up also, like it's just like exercising a physical muscle. It's still using those muscles in a different capacity. So but if you are a painter or someone creative or something like that, then you may know what I mean because you can get rusty. Okay, I've overdone it. That leaf is way too big. But like I said, this was just a practice piece. This is not one that's going to go on the website for sale at all, because quite frankly, I don't like it. It's surprising, it's the things that I don't like that are often resonating with someone else and end up getting sold. So, I mean, the thing I like about it is that it's practice and that it's fun to do. Like, even though I don't like it, I'm enjoying the process. I think that's important too. Okay, so in experience, I've found that the gold doesn't particularly work amazingly at times with the yellow, the warm yellow. I think just because they're just so similar in colour that often it gets lost. But because I did those blue leaves and we've got these dark blue values at the front there, then the gold actually properly works with these. And again, I think it's just colour theory. It's just, you know, gold is essentially yellow, just a very beautiful yellow, and that's opposite to blue. And so when those colours are next to each other, they're very complementary and they work well together. I do find with these paintings that less is definitely more. So what I'm doing with this is I'm just, with that 00 brush, it's such a fine brush, I'm just very, I guess, hesitantly using the tip of that brush to try and make as fine gold lines as possible. Now this is a handmade gold paint. The link is in the description below as well. I've poured this out into the smaller pan so that it fits in my palette. Now because it's handmade, it has such a different consistency to regular watercolour paints, so that's something you have to get used to with these gold pigments. They're beautiful and they change colour, not change colour, they have a granulation about them that is different to a regular watercolour. But I find that you can make that work in your favour. So I'm just bleeding out the colour here, and I've kind of messed that up a little bit actually. I should know that. I've done that before. Okay, so you see with the gold there, I mean, it's hard to see in this light, but it's just got an amazing sparkle. So for this one, I think I'm done for that one. Yeah. Like, I'm wondering how much braver to be with my colours. Like, my colours are very strong colours. They're very vibrant. They're very saturated. I don't think that's a bad thing. It's interesting. I didn't like it with the tape on. Now that the tape's off, I find it's a lot more appealing to me. I still feel that the leaves are too big for the scene, but it kind of works at the same time. That was interesting. Interesting. Okay, next on the list, oh, these are a couple of things that I've done as well. So often you'll see on my channel I've got warm-ups, and that is usually the see, you can see the gold there. Look at that. That just is amazing. That sparkles so well. So these warm-ups are kind of like where all of the cool little experiments happen. So you can see here, like, just the way that the water has moved through the pigment there. I find that so beautiful. I really like those unexpected things that happen in the pigment. Same with up here. Come on, focus. There we go. So all of these things are a result of the water and the pigment reacting with each other. And I find that that's one of the most beautiful things when it comes to, yeah, these kind of experiments. So abstracts, definitely I'm doing more and more of these because I find it so beautiful and so lovely. Let's get out. Oh, this one, yeah, I was trying to do a larger format. And that was nice. But I printed this out for my letter club members. So every month I send out a letter, and it's usually twice a year. It's an original, but sometimes it's a print. And I printed this one because I really like this format, but the gold didn't render very well. But it was one of my favorite letters that I sent out. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to, this one has been sitting there for quite some time now. I've actually done 2 of these already. I'm a bit slow actually putting these on the website because it's not that I'm lazy, it's just I'd rather paint. I'd rather paint. I can't find where the other one is. But I'm going to do, oh, it was right behind all the time. So I've already done one. Okay, so I've got the templates. So I drew these. I drew everyone. How many did I draw? It was during COVID, so I drew maybe 50 or 60, all different patterns like this. I've got them hanging all over the place. So that's another one that I drew. And I've been slowly going through them all and colouring them how I like. So what I'm doing is I've been popping them on my website that you can download and colour yourself with watercolours. So I print this out on watercolour paper, but I haven't put these 2 yet on because I got carried away with just colouring and I haven't, sorry, I haven't put them on the website yet. But how cool are they? Like, this one I really like because it's so simple. It was just 3 colours, I think. It was the turquoise, it was the orange, and it was the yellow, the warm yellow, and they just worked really well together. This one surprised me actually because they're such 2 different styles as well. So I had like the leaves, which is what I often do, but then these ones here, and I really like the colours that I ended up using, and they worked really well with these ones. So that was a bit of fun. But now I've already done that one, and this is exactly the same. So my goal for this is just to use a completely different colour palette to this, because I feel like this is generally what I use. I lean towards the greens and things like that. So, but the decision, that's why I haven't done it yet, is what colour palette do I use? Kind of leaning towards only doing blue, like all the different blues that I have. So what I'm going to do, so like I said before, you only need 2 brushes. So this one was, the black one here, was the very first natural hair brush that I ever got. And we got someone saying hi. Was the very first natural hair brush that I ever got. And you can see the difference between the 2. Okay. See how the black one does not have a point on the end anymore? And the orange one does. And that's the difference between these 2 brushes. Besides the size, I think this one is a 0 and this one is a 00. But because I use this brush so much, I've basically worn down the point and there's no point left on it anymore. But I still use this brush because it comes in handy for slightly larger spaces where I don't need particularly the the point. So I think I'm going to go with the blues. So I've got a little bit of blue mixed up here. Now I've got the blues that I have are Cobalt Turquoise Light, which is this one here. And then I've got French Ultramarine, Prussian Blue, Phthalo Blue. So a mixture of warm and cool blues, essentially. And with this one, I might just play. This one I know is on my website. I think I have put it on. I'm pretty sure. Actually, I should double check. If I'm not releasing artwork, I tend not to look at the website that much, to be honest. I'm not very tech savvy. Just want to paint. But it's kind of relaxing to do because I'm really proud of these drawings. I really am. Like I mentioned earlier, there's been a lot of times recently where I've done some work and I haven't filmed it. It hasn't been for content, I guess. And mainly I did that because I'm quite well known in my area for the landscapes, especially the miniature landscapes. And most of my Instagram is those miniature landscapes. But I wanted to see what I did away from the cameras. And it's interesting, it always comes back to these patterns. That's what I do away from the cameras. So definitely the abstract is more where I'm going or where I've come from. It just so happened that the landscapes was what became popular. Which is kind of annoying because they're a bit boring to do, to be honest. Maybe because I just find them not challenging, whereas these I find quite relaxing and nice to do. Like it's calming and it's pleasant. And I know that it should be artwork should be calming and pleasant and fun to do. So I'm kind of picking the shapes to colour in because even though it's like abstract and it's very organic looking, what makes something work is how it feels and if it feels balanced, even though and I think that's why we like things like out in nature so much as well, that nature isn't as random as we might think it is. Like even a tree, it looks very random, but if you look closely, it's very, very proportionate. So one thing I learned from another artist about trees, what's her name? A sketchbook artist, Dinah Brovsky, I think her name is. But she mentioned something about Leonardo da Vinci and what he noticed about trees and how the trunk, when it branches into the two branches, the trunk, the sum of those two branches is equal to the trunk that it came from. And then, so when one of those two branches splits and branches out again, the sum of those branches equal the diameter or the width or the proportions of the branch it came from. That fascinated me, so I hike a lot, especially coming from Tasmania. There's a lot of really lovely hikes. So I started trying to pay attention to like how these shapes and like natural things were occurring. And yeah, that's what I noticed too. It's like, again, might not be exact to the millimeter, but it's enough to be pleasing to the eye. And so coming back to the colours that I'm talking about here, you definitely want to space out your colours so that one, it's either the focal of one side or it's balanced over the whole picture. So I don't have a plan for this. I don't know how it's going to end up. I'm just going over some to like darken the values a little bit, make it a little bit more pronounced. But you'll notice I did it with this one here. I had like a base colour in the leaf, and then I went over with a darker green just to accentuate a little bit. I did that with this one as well. This one has got 3 tones, so we've got the base layer, and then I went over with a different colour green, and then the last, and that kind of gives it that dimension as well, which is, it's fun to play with. But the nice things about these colouring in sheets too is that, I mean, if you wreck it, you just print it out again, try again. I think I've printed out 3 of these, of this particular design. Like I said, I've got about 40, I just haven't uploaded them all yet. I think I've only, on my Etsy, I definitely have 2 up there, but on my website, I'm pretty sure, I'll just have to check. So the leaves here, obviously they need to go in a kind of a blue. I might start them now actually. So I've got this as my base layer, and I might add some phthalo blue into that, and that'll just slightly change the colour. Now, because I've used this turquoise as a base, they're going to harmonise really nicely with each other, even though it's a different colour, because one of the base colours is the same. So you can see it's a very different blue. I wonder what it's going to look like when it's all just blue. So it looks, and watercolour like naturally dries a little bit lighter than when you put it on, and it depends on the colour too. Some colours dry the same, depends on like how much of the pigment you used and how much water you used, all that kind of stuff as well. So that's like one reason too that I like going back. There we go. There we go. I know I have a lot of people that kind of collect the little landscapes that live in Oregon in the States. I've never been, but I'm assuming it's because of the nature there. I haven't done a huge amount of research, but I heard that Oregon is got a lot of hiking and things like that, and I think that's so interesting because I'm from Tasmania, and that's got some of the most amazing hiking trails in the world. I've only recently got into hiking, to be honest. I've always loved nature, I've always loved being outside. But these multi-day hikes is something that I've recently gotten into in the past few years. And there's just something incredible about it. It's just amazing. Just because, I think because of the location in Tasmania too, quite often you have no contact with the outside world. You need to bring like personal safety beacon and EPIRB and stuff like that, just in case you roll over and break an ankle and can't move or something like that. But you don't have the original distractions that you would normally have if you were closer to civilization. And I think it's just because of the infrastructure and like the island as well. There is comparatively very few living on the island, and so you don't need that cell phone service everywhere, and especially in some of these overnight hikes like the overland track and things like that. There's only a couple of pockets where you actually have service. So you know how I said I mix those 2 colours together and it's able to harmonise well? I can already kind of see it. So that's kind of cool. This is just a really lovely, relaxing activity to do. It's just there's no pressure. Play with colours, and I think this is a nice way to kind of learn too what colours work together and what colours don't. It's like I said, if it doesn't work, you can just print it out again. I don't think time spent doing things like this is ever wasted. So if you're watching and you're a creative, what do you create? Is it painting? Is it craft? Is it drawing? Or is it just liking nice things? I don't mean to be intrusive or anything, but it's like I'm always so interested, like, because you never know what things people like. It always interests me what kind of creative things people do. Because I think everyone is creative, it's just some of us have lost some of that over the years because life gets busy. We think it needs to look a certain way or be a certain type of aesthetic in order for us to justify doing it. I don't think that's true, to be honest. What I'm thinking of doing with these, I've got a lot of creative friends, so I went on a coffee date a couple of months ago with some friends, and one of them she loves watercolor, so that was fun, but the other never got into watercolor, but she draws. And what I found amazing is we're all just sitting there doing our thing, chatting, and then the one that doesn't do watercolor came up with this very cool drawing. It was cartoon style, so she's Japanese, so I'm not sure if it's like the manga influence or what, but it was a cartoon of three of us just sitting at the table outside, and it had like dialogue, all in Japanese of course, so I couldn't read it. But it just made me realize how amazingly cool it is that creativity takes so many forms and it's all fantastic and it's all beautiful. And I took a photo of it because, like, please let me take a photo of it, because she captured a memory. She captured like a time and a place that I didn't capture with my watercolors. It was really cool. I thought that was really, really neat. So even with the blues, I'm liking that. That's working really well. Already though, I think it's kind of like maybe just my brain telling me, yeah, all the blues are going to be great, Keturah, that's going to look really cool, but you're going to need a pop of colour, like a complementary colour. And more like my brain's already telling me that. I don't want the complementary colour to be red, I know that, even though that might be a complementary colour. Mainly because I think red would be too harsh. I kind of want this to feel a little bit more calm. So I'm wondering if the complementary colour would be something, I mean, it could lean towards an orange, I guess, but even then. You can see why this is one of my favourite brushes. Just kind of load it up with pigment and water. And it feels like it never runs out, but I am painting small spaces too, so that's also a consideration. I'm basically going over with the same colour, and I'm just going to put some definition into some of the leaves I've already done. I do have a watercolour class. It's available on my website. It's about 9 hours, So you can come in and out as you wish. And it goes through everything. It goes through paints, it goes through paper. Ah, I went outside the lines. It's not that bad. So I go through a lot of tips and tricks, and we paint the faces like the ones I showed you earlier. So now I'm changing colours. I'm just getting straight ultramarine blue, which is a different blue altogether, and I'm using it quite strong, the colour. I'm not a massive fan of ultramarine blue when it's kind of been watered down. I don't love that colour. I'll show you what it looks like. Whoops. So ultramarine when it's watered down. There we go, here. When it's watered down, that's what it looks like. I mean, it's beautiful and it's lovely and it has its place, but this is what ultramarine looks like when you're heavy with it. And it's just such a better colour, let's be honest, people. Don't you reckon? I reckon. Like, yeah, this is how I thought watercolours always was, but that's how I like watercolours to be. I always thought watercolours were always very washed out and kind of zero personality. I know that's not the right thing to say, but when I kind of started experimenting and like figuring out what I liked about it, and then I saw just how intense the colours could be, that's when I was like, this is really fun. This is a fun paint to use. If I had unlimited budget, I guess I would just use tubes of watercolor paint like acrylic, but I don't have an unlimited budget. So this is where I make it work like this. We've got a cough in the background. And see, even with all the blues, like I'm still kind of choosing where to put things so that there's this balanced feel. And because I'm using so much blues and it's the mixture of, you know, the warm and the cool, I mean, that can work, but in order for it to work, it's going to need that pop of color, and it's also going to need white. So the white of the page obviously is something that I'm going to leave, but we're going to need that contrast. That's another thing too to remember about playing with color. Oh, we've got not very good, got a sick boy in the house, we do. You need that contrast. So I know that I will be leaving white in a lot of these places, just so that we've got that contrast. Let's kind of feel an example of how crazy some of these lines are. Quite tiny. I used, and some of them aren't, like there's a lot of lines in here, but I used a fine point fountain pen for all of these drawings. It was a bit nuts, so yeah. They're a teensy bit smaller than what I originally drew them as. They were like an A5 size. And this is actually an A5 size, so they're probably around the same size, to be honest. So it just shows how fine I was able to get the lines with my, excuse me, that was a little sneeze. Alright, so we've got, you can see the blues are kind of concentrated in this section on the wave, and I haven't started these leaves yet. I'm kind of holding off a little bit. But I might make some of these sections, this deep blue. Ultramarine is such a beautiful colour. So you probably know this colour if you're into, even if you're not into art. I think most people have seen the picture of like the girl with a pearl earring and that blue scarf. Is it the scarf that's blue? I can't even remember. I just think it's so interesting how colour affects, not affects, but the colours. Like Van Gogh, I've been looking at a lot of his work recently, and that yellow and that deep blue combination is something that he used over and over, and I just think it's really neat how like some colours you can resonate with a lot more than others. It's funny, the colours that I like to use in my work are not the colours I like to display on my walls. I think that's very interesting. I love kind of like the browns and the oranges, like the very 70s burnt colours as decoration for my space, but I rarely use them in my work, and I find that really interesting. Very interesting. I also find that I tend to paint with the colours that I wear, the colours that suit my complexion. That was like a recent discovery for me too. So for me, these blues suit my complexion the most, whereas those browns and like oranges don't suit me very much. So I always find that very interesting. Are you an inside the lines kind of person, or are you someone that doesn't mind it getting a bit messy? I think for drawings like this, I'm definitely an inside the lines person. But I don't mind freestyling it occasionally. But not getting in the lines with these is annoying me. Oh, I've been going for a while. Okay, I'm going to leave it there for now. I'm going to come back to this maybe tomorrow or another day, because I've painted probably longer than I was going to today, but I'm still glad I did. So I've got a couple of things done. Got this little one done, which is nice. And how I want it, but it still looks good. So thanks for joining me, and I might try and get into doing the lives again, because it makes me sit down and it makes me actually work. Normally, yeah, like I said, I haven't been putting the camera on while I'm working, which has been going well as well, because I've been able to do some very cool things. I tried to paint smoke. And these were cool things that ended up with me not feeling pressured by the camera, which was nice. But this is what I'm talking about. Can you see the sparkle on that? That's silver sparkle. Pretty deadly, if you ask me, I think. But yeah, anyway, I'm getting distracted, sorry. Yeah, I'll come back to that tomorrow and finish that off. So if it's not tomorrow, I will see you when the next video comes out, I guess. Thanks everyone. Hope you enjoyed the little live session. We'll see you next time. See if I can undo this and give you a close-up. That's it. Thanks guys.